Now we're going to take a moment and have 5 students come forward representing the 5 degree programs in Capla. Alex Mayer from Architecture, Lee Eubank from Landscape Architecture, Lexi Wellop from Planning, Carolyn Janjic from Real Estate Development, and Houston Rory Harris from Sustainable Built Environments. So to begin with, Alex, if you would come forward, please.
What is architecture school? Well, there are a couple of answers. For most, architecture school is insanity. It's the path we're cautioned against taking before we've even started. Our parents emailed us foreboding stats on salaries and maybe even a beautiful New York Times infographic about the worst job markets in America that was, in all likelihood, drawn by an architecture graduate. But we do it anyways because we're high school graduates now. You know, what do our parents know? And for others, architecture school is kind of just that surreal blur that you see through the caffeine jitters. It's a confusing jumble of basswood, cardboard, knives, and detached fingertips. It's a strange place filled with new questions. Will superglue reliably bond flesh to flesh? How do I get blood out of cardboard? Will this get me a deadline extension? But for me, architecture school was really a stark revelation, and I've got a visual aid here that most of you won't be able to see, but you can find me afterwards and look at it. And this is a drawing. This was part of a first homework assignment for architecture school, and it's not a good drawing at all. But for me, it has a much more important meaning. To me, it was the revelation that I knew nothing. You know, my 12 years of schooling up to this point were null and void. I was an infant. And though at the time this is really terrifying, this is a really incredibly beautiful moment. It's rare that we get an opportunity in life to start over and still be considered on course, but architecture school is one of those moments. We relearn how to see and how to think. And given the brevity of 5 years of schooling, the transformation is really astonishing. We learn how to draw, how to weld, how to tell stories in space, and how to properly conceal stress-induced acne. And then there are the intangibles. There's the grit to make it through 3 consecutive all-nighters, the time management skills we develop to never, ever repeat said all-nighters, and poise under presentation pressure. Although I guess in my case, the school really wanted one last look before they decided on the diploma. This academic journey is one that's impossible to undertake alone. And as anyone who has been through architecture school can attest, the friendships that are built within the crucible of studio are stronger than any major on campus, and this is certainly true of our class. We've been side by side at our best, our worst, our most intoxicated, and I'm very lucky to be part of a surviving group of 46 that get along so well through such trying times. Similar praise applies to the architecture faculty. In my entire academic career, I've never had instructors that were more personally invested in the work and success of their students than those here at Capla. When I tell my other friends about the relationships I have with my professors, they find it hard to believe given they've rarely gotten within 20 feet of their own. Sharing in the development of a piece of architecture is an incredibly personal pursuit for instructor and student. And through the course of 10 studios, we can't help but learn the motivations, processes, and sometimes the fearless dance moves of a range of talented architects. And this lesson is surely worth more than the outcome of studio projects alone. Though the breadth of our architectural education is staggering, we all know that this ending is just the beginning. We've got the skills to get the job, but parents, believe it or not, this is the low-hanging fruit. As a class, we have the responsibility to change how our profession operates. The AutoCAD architecture era is ending. We now have the tools and the know-how to design, test, and deliver complex projects more nimbly than ever before. But to enact this change, we have to lead the charge. So good luck, class of 2016, but I really don't think we're going to need it. Thanks.
Good evening. I gave my first presentation here next to Ron, or for Ron, so it's fitting I get to do my last. As a student of landscape architecture, understanding sense of place for a project's location has been part of our training. My comments tonight are about Capla's sense of place and what we will take away from it as we move forward into finding our own sense of place in our careers. If you aren't familiar with the term sense of place, it includes the rhythmic fluctuations within a landscape, such as the seasonal changes of sky, vegetation, and movements of plants and animals, in contrast with the relative stability of physical form, this being topography, ecological communities, and the urban fabric. Further, what also matters is an understanding of the value systems that people create within that place. For the last 3 years, I've gained some insight into the sense of place here at Capla, the studio in particular, where we designers practice our craft. Studio is the heart of our program, both an individual and a communal space and experience where we collaborate, study, create, take risks, and eventually succeed at our endeavors. Much of this work is done in groups. We gather at our desks and make plans, show off our trace paper cutting skills. We go for coffee, pizza, supplies throughout the day. We text each other late at night and often early in the mornings. Some of you got some from me, to track each other down and figure out if we'll actually make the deadline. Ultimately, we bring our designs to share with the class, to present, and to be critiqued on our work. Through this process, we become acutely aware of our strengths and weaknesses as designers, colleagues, and friends. Studio's sense of place has its own rhythmic fluctuations of deadlines and the phases of the design process, in contrast with the stability of the space itself, the heavy metal desks and the huge walls of windows that inspire and ground us to keep going when we want to stop. Its value system prioritizes collaboration, humility, courage, risk-taking, and creativity. As we graduate from Capla, how do we take this sense of place with us as we go to find our individual sense of place in our careers? To me, it's learning from diverse opinions, recognizing our own strengths and weaknesses, and courageously improving on them. It's appreciating the strengths of each team member and motivating and encouraging each other to do our best. It's having a disagreement with our teammates and still showing up the next day friends. It's having patience with ourselves and with others, and recognizing the ups and downs, ebbs and flows of the creative process. Finally, it's recognizing the skill and expertise we bring because of our Capla degree and our knowledge of how we design for the arid landscape. Graduates, let us pause and remember the sense of place that we have just shared together and reflect on how we can bring this sense of place to our next endeavors. On behalf of the landscape architecture graduates of 2016, I'd like to thank Dean Cervelli for your leadership and vision for Capla's sense of place. I'd like to thank our faculty, Lori, Ron, Oscar, Margaret, Kirk, and Kelly, and Helen for your mentoring and guidance. And finally, I'd like to thank our friends and family who supported us through this program. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you all here tonight. I wanted to start off by shedding some light on what planning actually is. Because you know you're a planner when the first thing you get asked is, so what do you actually do? Or, so you can manage somebody's finances, great. Or you can plan a mean wedding. Well, I'm sure planners could manage some finances and plan a mean event. That's not what we do. And please don't feel sorry if you fell into that same category. Even Google struggles with it too. So to ensure that we're on the same page, here's a point of comparison. Surprisingly enough, planners are a lot like supervillains. We pay close attention to detail without losing sight of the big picture, world domination. We are goal-oriented and free thinkers, and we love to share our plans and appreciate the value of a good minion. However, there are a few differences between planners and supervillains. Rather than spandex, our costumes typically consist of checkered shirts and khakis. And we don't plot to destroy all humans, we plot to create functional spaces. Planners are the puppet masters of our cities. We crunch data and we consult environmental and traffic impact studies, all of which doing with communities in the hope of getting it all right. All in all, planners are super secret agents of change. We are fixers and enforcers, we are dreamers and we are communicators. We are the boots on the ground, not simply just behind a desk in our hidden lair. And you know you've done this all successfully when your everyday vocab is alphabet soup, when you try to convince others that it's better to walk, bike, and take public transit instead of drive, when a public meeting is a good night out, and when you say PP plan several times a day without laughing, and finally, when you use public participation to write your graduation speech, not saying that I did that or anything. I'm confident to say that each one of these planning graduates have been ready to launch into their careers as professional planners. Each person you are looking at has indeed seen change. Each has acquired knowledge, skill, tact, and experience that will guide them through the next phase of their professional lives. Each has embraced themselves for a lifelong duty as a public servant, a researcher, an analyst, a communicator, and perhaps even a lawyer, for an increasingly diverse and evolving world. Sure, each individual has seen change, but even better, even more of a testament of our field as planners, of our field and potential as planners, we have induced change for our program, induced change for our field, induced change for each other and with each other. This group of individuals has been a cohort since the beginning. From the very first meeting at orientation, over beverages, to our very last gathering as students, over beverages, and to our future reunions at planning conferences that will inevitably be over beverages. It has been an honor serving you all as the Vice President of the Graduate Planning Society. This position has given me an opportunity to grow and to learn from each of you. Thank you for sharing your talent and space in the world with me. And a huge thank you to the planning faculty for filling our heads with an indispensable amount of knowledge of GIS methods, analytical tools, transportation systems, keys to responsible development, and the laws of the land. And lastly, thank you to our family and friends. Your support is greatly appreciated, and we couldn't have done it without you. As supervillain Lex Luthor would say, you see, I don't want to do good things. I want to do great things. Congratulations to the graduating class of 2016. Thank you. And oh yeah, Wildcat football rules!
Good evening. My name is Caroline Janich, and I'm a student graduating with a Master's in Real Estate Development program. When I tell people that I'm in the Master's of Real Estate Development program, I get two questions. The first is, oh, so are you going to sell houses? To which my answer is, of course, well, that depends. Are you in the market to buy one? The second question that I get is, why is the real estate development program in the College of Architecture? Why not part of the business school? Arguments could be made for putting a real estate development program in either college. Market analysis and financial analysis are pretty important aspects of development. The University of Arizona's MRED program covers these, of course, but also focuses on how sustainable and responsible development can and should be part of a developer's long-term business plan. And for that, we need to be able to collaborate with our architecture school counterparts, and there needs to be some overlap in our curriculum. I admit that during the last 2 years, when I heard that another group project was going to be assigned, there was probably a look of disappointment on my face. As the mother of 2 under 2, my schedule did not always align with that of my classmates, making group projects pretty difficult. Professors explained that group projects were assigned to help us learn to manage differences, to help leaders emerge. Sometimes I thought, perhaps the professors liked group work because it meant less grading. I still wonder about that. But during my last semester with Capla, it finally occurred to me that for any of us to add value to a project, we'll have to be able to see it through many lenses. We need each other to tackle the problems facing our cities and to create a built environment that we're proud of. Improved social, environmental, and financial bottom lines must be sought in concert. Capla has done well to attract great professors to this real estate development program, which is very new. The MRED program just welcomed its first class in the fall of 2013. Professor Chris Nelson makes himself endlessly available to students as they work through the details of each and every project. He addresses students as colleagues and always, always treats them with the respect that this title suggests. Professor Drew Sanderford never accepts less than what he knows to be our best work, pushing us out of our comfort zone and lifting us up to the next level. The program also gives students access to the best practitioners in our community, arranging site tours and bringing in guest speakers. In this community, it seems, there are no words that open doors better than, "I am a student." I'm going to miss having that card to play. Because in this community, when you say you're a student, people rise up, rally around you, and lift you up. They ask how they can help. Beyond the connections made for me, I've been able to set up meetings with many more local practitioners by asking them to share their experience with a student. To my fellow graduates, I hope that our work together doesn't end here. I hope that many of you will continue to call Tucson your home, so that then, when these Capla professors are looking for a new generation of practitioners and a new set of projects to inspire their students, it will be our phones that are ringing. Thank you, and congratulations to all of my fellow graduates.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Houston Harris, and I'm a graduating student in the Sustainable Built Environments major. When I was in high school, my late mother told me that her goal whenever she started working in a new place was to make sure that she improved that project in some way by the time she moved on to the next project. And following with that philosophy, she was able to lead major research and development projects for several states' Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration. Even though my mother can't physically be here today, I know she'd be proud of me and all of the graduates here from Capla because we've learned so much from our classes and experiences. As we leave the University of Arizona this evening, know this means that we've already made it past a lot of personal and academic obstacles. You should remember that if you already made it this far, you can make it through any obstacle in your future career or personal life. These obstacles may come sooner for the graduates of the Sustainable Built Environments major because we don't have a definitive career goal like the other majors. Many of us do not know all of the projects we'll work on when we leave this room or how this major will have an impact on our future lives. Though it may seem nerve-wracking for us and our families to not know where we'll end up, we're given a lot of freedom to travel through different projects and work environments. While this can be stressful, I think this is one of the greatest benefits of this major. Whether you work at schools, nonprofits, or major companies to support their sustainability initiatives, I ask you to remember the sentiments of my mother. Remember that we should follow the same philosophy of making sure that whatever projects we start, we have an impact on the environmental health of the areas we work. Not only that, but the projects or initiatives that we take on in the future must create the potential to support the financial, social, and environmental health of our communities for every single life we touch. As one of the smaller colleges, we're all somewhat aware of each other. Remember that we can reach back to our professors and peers from Capla to make sure that every project we touch is left better than the way we found it. Good luck to all the graduates.